Welcome back, fight fans. We're back again, and somebody's already leaving a comment. Holy, all good. You can miss as many as you want. I'll just be talking to myself all day. It's all good. So many in a row. Yeah, exactly. Every week for the next 4 months. I'll be here. I'll be right here. You know where I am. If you're free, I will be right here. It's all good. But I did miss you, of course. Got something stuck in my throat now. What the fuck? Hold on a sec. That was weird. What was I gonna say? Amazing card last week. I was surprised again. How about that? The pay-per-view was insanely good, way better than anybody could have hoped. And the last card, holy shit, that was like it really was like almost watching a non-Apex event. I mean, the crowd was actually like, "Oh, okay, there's actually people there watching, making a little bit of noise." The fights were great, lots of finishes, crazy finishes. I actually think the best finishes of the year, truly. Best KO, pretty great submission too. The main event could have actually possibly been one of the best fights of the year so far. Amazing. I mean, did not expect any of this the last couple weeks. So we'll get into that, the results, of course, of last week, and then we'll be going through this week UFC Jacksonville, or perhaps UFC on ABC number 4 or 5. I don't know. There's so many names for all these. Who knows what anything's called at this point? It's basically just whatever we want to call anything, I guess. So yeah, we'll start with this week's main event. Could be fight of the year. Yeah, it's definitely a candidate. I mean, you got to think because as I was saying that, I was like, what fights happened this year that were insane? I gotta say, the only thing that comes to mind just off the top of my head would be Islam and Volkanovski, of course. That was pretty incredible. So I don't know. I don't know. Just because it was also more competitive too. Could that be it so far? I'm not sure. Time will tell. But yes, we will dive right into the results. And I'm sad to say right off the bat, we did fall a little bit short. So we are in the red again. But it is, again, pretty close. And I got to say, there were definitely some things in there that screwed us over. That, man, the refs were the problem this time. Really weird stuff going on this past week, especially with the refs. Um, yeah. So we'll get into that. First fight, Bukowskis, Pauga. I think I played that one pretty well. I put Bukowskis decision because he was, of course, ballooning up as a favorite. So I brought him down with the decision and then balanced that out with the under. We were actually pretty close to getting a finish on either side. So we could have cashed in the finish, but we actually got the better result, which was Bukowski's decision. That was plus 150 compared to the plus 140 we would have gotten had there been a finish. So we actually cashed in on the better one there. So that worked out well. 2.5 units there. So we were already up after the first fight. Good way to start. Good way to start. And then, of course, immediately weird stuff starts happening. That's where we saw Ronnie Lawrence and Dan Argueta. That was that weird scenario with Keith Peterson saying that he tapped, but he didn't tap. Weird stuff all around. And I've actually never seen that where a call was reversed. I've definitely seen it where it was called too early, and in fact, Keith Peterson was the culprit on a couple of those occasions. But I've never seen it where they actually did return a no contest result affecting the bets. I've only seen, like, okay, we see a replay and it's like, oh, I don't know about finishing it there, Keith. But this time we actually saw it on replay. They reviewed it, everything. Turns out it was a no contest, which means we get all of our money back. So that ended up being, I put down Lawrence decision and the under 2.5. Technically, it was an under 2.5, but it didn't count. So we did not cash in on that, which even though I actually did, if you calculate it out, because I did put Ronnie Lawrence in our parlays. No nonsense. Keith Peterson has had more nonsense lately. Yeah, might need to change his nickname. I'm sad to say, even though I love the nickname, we might need to change it because there has been a little nonsense going on, I have to say. Yeah, I did the math. And actually we would have done better had had it been had the result stood, or had Keith Peterson not stopped it, and he would have gotten the submission. We actually would have cashed in a little bit better because we ended up losing the parlays not because of Lawrence, but because of Duncan later in there. So the parlays wouldn't have been affected either way had he won or lost, Ronnie Lawrence, but we would have cashed in on the under 2.5. We would have been at 275. So we would have added an extra 0.75 units on top of there. So already we actually lost some profit, not because of anything the fighters did, but because of the referees on that one. So that's kind of a rough go for us there. But it was pretty good for us from then on for a little while. Then it was kind of like really late in the main card that got us good. But the prelims doing fantastic. We were doing really well there. So we'll continue on. This next one I will say was not one of our better ones. Bondar. I had Bondar minus 138. I thought that was an incredible deal. He looked amazing going into it. Yes, of course, broke his arm in the first fight. That was more unlucky than anything else. I mean, sure, it was also because of kind of an armbar early on that then probably fractured, pieces of the arm, and then it fully just snapped later, like a minute later. So that's probably what happened there. So I mean, a little bit of a fluke, but also not really of a fluke, one of those weird ones. Kind of like the Connor situation, when he broke his, what is it, femur or something like that, like, is it bad luck that he stepped on it and broke it like that? Yeah, but he also, when Dustin was blocking the kicks, he ended up kicking his elbow, which then probably fractured it a little bit, and then the impact of coming down then snapped it completely. It's kind of one of those situations where it's a little bit of luck, but also he did cause it a little bit. Anyway, so Bondar lost. And honestly, bizarre fight actually. I skipped one. Fuck me. Oh my god. I'm already skipping one, but since I'm already talking about it, I might as well finish talking about it. It was a weird fight, actually. I don't really regret picking Bondar. It's more that he just didn't fight at all like he has in the past. Like, literally did nothing that he normally does. It was very, very strange. Bondar normally grapples heavily, goes for submissions, does all that, doesn't really strike as much. And he didn't grapple at all in this fight. Like, really not at all. I think he kind of threw maybe two or three takedowns, maybe. I think he got a little bit of success in there. He took him down, I think. Again, I'm just doing this off the top of my head. I didn't write down that part of it, but I did write down Bondar didn't grapple. And I distinctly remember thinking, wow, this is weird. Especially since his opponent had lost by submission before. So you think that would have been the obvious way to go. That's not what he did. So didn't work out. It was really weird. I don't know. I don't know what he was thinking, but it wasn't working. Bad strategy. So Bondar lost. So that was bad for us, of course. That was the pick. Under 2.5. That was the other pick. Did not get that either. Will say he technically did get a KO, but it wouldn't have mattered in terms of the over under. But it was actually right at the end of the fight, and it ended up being a technical decision. So technically, technically, it wouldn't have cashed in either way because it was after the 2.5 mark. But still, it was a bit weird because it should have been a finish, and it ended up being a technical decision. Because, oh yeah, that's right, another referee mistake. Now I remember what it was. He was doing he slammed him into the ground, and his head did bounce off the canvas, but what's his name? What's the other guy? Not Bondar, but Hernandez's head bounced off of it, bounced off of his head as well. So it was kind of like, oh, because of, yeah, head clash there, which, to be honest, even on the replays, it didn't look like it did anything. I I kind of think he was robbed of the finish as well. Weird one. Weird one. That definitely should have been a KO. Either way, it doesn't affect our bets. It was just kind of one of those situations again with the reffing where it was like he kind of got robbed of a finish on paper. I mean, again, does it really make a difference? He still gets his win bonus. He still gets everything. It just, when you look on Tapology, it says technical decision instead of knockout. I mean, it looks a little bit better. Um, so yeah, that was weird. And it would have affected us if I would have put KO in there. I mean, might as well give him. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And yeah, we focus on the betting. To be fair, though, and this actually is true, if I would have bet on a finish, technically that's actually technically a decision. So I would have lost. So it does matter. It does matter in that kind of way because when you bet on somebody winning by decision or winning by finish like KO or submission, it specifically lays out a finish means KO, submission, TKO, disqualification, and I think there's maybe another one. But decision technically also includes technical decision and majority decision, split decision, and all that. So it does make a difference in terms of the betting, just not how I bet it this time, but it could have affected it. So yeah, you know, these things matter. These things matter. Officiating matters, reffing matters, judging matters, everything matters. Everything matters. So you don't want to see anything like that. Either way, 0 for 2 on that one. That one was not great. But I don't really regret the picks. It's just more so just bizarre strategy from Bondar. Very strange. What have we got here? Would there be any way of displaying the fighters on screen at some point? I personally have a bad habit of switching up the fights in my mind. You mean like here? Like putting it on here? I don't think legally I'm allowed to do that only because I could show the pictures of them, I guess, and then put like a little credit. But yeah, I want to do that just in terms of the betting, to be honest, because I want to put up the bets there and even numbers. But that's what I was saying before about like I could figure out how to do it, but it would take me a long time. And then of course I'd have to update it every week. And because I'm doing all this myself, plus the betting, plus a lot of other things that I do, I don't really know if I can handle updating that every single week like that. But trust me, 100%. I do very much want to do that eventually and want to have that up because I agree too. I mean, it's you're literally just looking at me the whole time. I'd like to look at some numbers too if I was watching this. I'd want to see the plus minuses, the bets, and then of course the fights, maybe a picture of the finish and everything. Maybe throw some memes in there, some memery, But that's when you have zero budget and you're doing it by yourself. You get what you get. It's tough. It's tough out here, It's rough out here on the streets. But someday we'll get there. We'll get there. Trust me. I mean, if I can even achieve this by myself, I mean, just imagine what I can do with a person helping me or paying somebody to do something, in the future, something to look forward to for the long-term fans, Sure, it's a lot of work if you ever, yeah. Like I said, if you know how to set any of that stuff up, especially if you know anything about Streamlabs, I'm definitely down. Then I would need some help for sure. But yeah, anyway, oh yeah, that was, by the way, just side note, specifically a question for you. That is you on Tapology that challenged me and then I destroyed 2 weeks ago and then challenged me again today. I accepted just before the show. By the way, I'm pretty sure that's you. I don't know who else it would be. Yes, it was you. Okay. Bad week. It wasn't just a bad week for you. I know it was a bad week for you. I mean, you had like what, 200 points? That's rough. It was a bad week for me too. So trust me, it was a bad week all around. We'll just forget it happened. We'll move on. I'm sure we'll both do a lot better this week. That was a rough one. But yeah, Anyway, moving on back to the fight that I glossed over, I missed. Teresa Beleja and Fernandez. That was a easy one, easy one. Saw that coming a mile away. That's why I had Beleja in my in my blee spot, in my B slot in the parlays. Knew she was going to dominate this fight, and that she did. So I put money on Beleja decision. Canada, I know, right? Canada actually fighting well screwed me on that. I mean, like, I got slaughtered on some of those. I would have done so much better had the Canadians just lost like they were supposed to. But as a source of entertainment, I mean, I said this last week, loved it. Loved it. One of my favorite cards of the year, and one of the few times that I've lost money where I actually finished the night happy because I had so much fun watching it. It was really one of the best cards I've ever seen. It was so much fun to watch. And I know obviously that's because I'm Canadian. So of course it made it more fun to watch it like that. But anyway, yes, we will continue. I did just want to point out that it really was amazing to watch. And I did take back all the negative things that I said going into that week, how bad the pay-per-view was going to be. I take it back. It was amazing. I take everything back. So Bledja, I did put money on Bledja decision. That was plus 110. Got the 2.1 units back then. So again, we're still up. We're looking great at this point. Amazing, amazing. I did put money on the under just to balance it out, just in case she got a submission, or if Gabriella could have even pulled off a TKO in there somewhere. So I did balance it out like that. But again, we ended up in the green there. So after 3 fights, we're looking great. I mean, it's pure profit at this point. Amazing, amazing. Oh, then of course the Bondar fight happens. We go down a little bit there. So we are, I think I was down maybe 1 unit after the Bondar one, but still, keeping it pretty close. I mean, we're just going fight to fight here, just going like -1, +1, all around there. Then we really hit it big. I put it on Kyung Ho Kang. That was Kong, I should say, against Christian Quinones. I wasn't impressed by Quinones at all, like at all in any of the tape. I was like, this guy doesn't look great. Kyung Ho Kang, or fuck, Kyung Ho Kong has looked pretty good. I thought he was a pretty live dog. Turns out I was completely right about that. Holy shit. He absolutely annihilated him in an insane all out brawl. I mean, he was the one that landed first, landed clean. It was amazing to watch and very satisfying, of course, because that was the pick. So not only did I cash in on Kyung Ho Kong at plus 120, which gives us back 2.2 units, we also cashed in on the under 2.5, which was plus 130. So that's 2.3, which means that's 4.5 units. That's 2.5 units of profit on that one fight alone. And I wrote down here because I was finally doing the math as the card was going on. We were up 1.1 units at this point. So we were over a unit up at this point, almost halfway through the card. So it was looking great. Like I said, strategy, well and alive. Everything's working well, even though we got screwed on that Lawrence one, because that would have put us up even farther. It's all looking good. Then I will admit, huge mistake on my part. This is where I actually did make a goof, as you would say. Jimmy Flick and Alessandro Costa, I had to remember his first name there. I picked Jimmy Flick. I had to, just because it was like they seemed close on paper. The styles seemed somewhat close because I know Jimmy Flick fights somewhat like Albazi with the wrestling and the heavy, relentless grappling style. I honestly, even looking back on it, I remember even thinking, I was like, actually, that's right. The one mistake I made, I didn't watch tape on Costa because I just thought, okay, I saw the tape on Costa when I studied for Albazi when he was fighting. So I was like, why would I watch it again? I'm good. I know he was okay, but he got wrestle fucked basically. So Jimmy Flick wrestles a lot. He's great on the ground. Maybe the same thing happens again. I'll take him. But what I did not think about, because I didn't watch the tape on Costa, idiot, is that Costa is just way better on the feet, and Flick had no chance because of that discrepancy on the feet. So huge mistake, wasted money, should not have put anything on Flick, should have put it on a Costa finish and then balancing it out with probably I had it on over 1.5, which that did not cash in, but I still stand by the over 1.5. That was at minus 110. I mean, minus 110 over 1.5. Those are pretty good odds. I like that. But the Jimmy Flick pick, that was a mistake. That was a mistake. Should not have done that. And that dropped us a little bit into the red. So my bad on that one. Should have definitely picked Costa finish. Huge mistake. Idiot. Watch the tape. This is why you watch the tape before doing stuff like this. Anyway, moving on. So that was one of the mistakes I made. Then we get into some more green. So this worked out for the next couple fights. We had Nicholas Dalby and Muslim Salikov. I put the money on Dalby because even though people might not have picked it up just by watching them, I mean, Dalby's a pretty relentless grappler. He's great. His cardio is just unbelievable. Honestly, he's got some of the best cardio I've ever seen. Excuse me. Dalby. Whereas we know that Muslim doesn't really do well in decisions. He only really gets knockouts. In fact, he was losing all of his fights before he got his knockouts. So to me, it's like, if you can't knock Dalby out, Muslim's going to lose. So got to put money on Dalby. That is exactly what I did. Plus 165. That brings us to 2.65 up, of course, which profit of 0.65 because I lost the backup, which was the under, which, by the way, multiple times could have had a finish there. So which would have gotten us a little, well, actually, it would have been less profit. So we got the better one anyway. But still, yeah, profit thanks to Dalby. So that was another good one. More green. That's all we need. And then we had Torres and Mota. I put it on Torres finish. We cashed in big again. That was at 120. Boom. By the way, that to me has to be the best KO of the year so far. When I saw it, I don't normally have huge reactions to anymore to finishes, but that finish was just so insane when I saw it. I actually stood up and I was like, "Holy shit." Like that was I couldn't believe that he went down like that. The step in elbow, Mota just drops, like doesn't even go step, like just lifeless on the ground. It was like, holy fucking smokes, out of nowhere, step in elbow like that. Unreal. Has to be the best KO of the year so far. I can't even really think of another UFC KO that's been like that this year. I can't think of one, to be honest. The only one that even comes remotely UFC related that was actually almost exactly the same was on Road to UFC, which technically doesn't count because that's technically not the UFC. But there was an elbow on that show, and that might actually be the best KO of the year that I've seen because it was almost the same, but the guy literally goes limp midair and just bam, right on the ground. Yeah, the drop is what makes the KO. The drop was way crazier in that Road to UFC fight. When I saw it, I mean, that was truly unbelievable. Unbelievable. If you think Mota fell bad, oh my God. The guy on Road to UFC was just, it looked bad. It looked really bad. If you didn't see that one, check that one out. It was on, I don't remember which episode it was. No, I can't remember which Road to UFC it was. But if you look up Road to UFC and look for the elbow finish on there, you'll find it. It was this season though. So season 2, episode probably 2 or 3 if you want to check it out. Anyway, you'll look up that up on Tapology. Actually, I could do that now too on Tapology. Anyway, moving on. We're taking too long. Anyway, so we cashed that in. That's 2.2 units. Slight profit there because I did, like I said, go for the over 1.5. That was minus 110. Didn't cash that in, obviously, because that was in the first round that happened. But like I said, still profit. So that was good again. And we brought it back to even at that point. So I was almost dead even at that point after that fight. And that included making the bad pick with Flick, and then of course the bad choice with Keith Peterson ruining our under. So even after all that, and even Bondar and that whole thing, we were still even. We were dead even at this point. So it was still looking okay. And then we got into the main card. And I will say this, I did make another mistake here. I will admit. Sabatini, Almeida. I'm not sure if I really regret the Sabatini. Picking Almeida, because I think on paper it was pretty close. So I don't necessarily regret that part of it. But I really did not think Sabatini was going to dominate like that. Yeah, it was not even close. It really was not even remotely close, to the point where it was essentially a first round finish. And I think it dragged on into the second from what I remember. So yeah, no chance on that one. We bet on, of course, Almeida the dog, and then over, which was at plus money. Actually, it was almost dead even on the over under, because over was 105. So I mean, that must have meant that the under was like minus 120 or so. So it was pretty close on paper. Yeah, I just really did not think Sabatini was going to dominate him like that. Because normally, when I pick the underdog and when it's like that, they're pretty close fights. I don't normally get absolutely blown out of the water and dominated like that. That doesn't normally happen. So maybe some mistake. I don't know. Maybe I missed something in the tape on that one. I'm not sure. I was just a little surprised by that one. I don't normally get surprised like that. So that one was bad. That was another 0 for 2. Then we had definitely a mistake. Christian Leroy Duncan, Armin Petrosian. I don't regret picking Duncan. I definitely don't regret that. I do regret putting him so high up in the parlays, because when I thought about it after, I was like, and of course, hindsight 2020, whatever. But I did kind of think of it, and I was like, we never really saw Christian Leroy Duncan fight for more than a round, really. So I never really had too much of an idea of what he was going to be like in the second or third round. And I also never really saw him fight anybody as good as Petrosian. So I was just kind of shocked. I was blown away by how bad really the fight IQ was. I don't know if you were thinking that too. It was just like, what are you doing? Like, I think he had the talent. He has the talent to win all these fights. He easily could have won that fight, but the fight IQ is just non-existent. He was doing all these spinning attacks, wasting all the energy, not waiting for his, not picking his moments to jump in and go in there. He just wasn't really doing any of that. He was literally just doing spinning, throwing the spinny shit, as they say. It was kind of like, I just don't really know what you're doing, man. Like, you're clearly not going to get the finish, because at that point, second round, third round, you're not going to get the finish anymore. Try to win the fight. Like, just win. Like, I don't know what you're doing. It was just so bizarre to watch. And then Petrosian was just doing his thing. He was just keeping it technical. He made it a technical kickboxing match, got his shots in, didn't get hit. And I was just like, wow, this is terrible. Eventually, I just want them to give up and get destroyed and stop frustrating me with the stupidity. Yeah, honestly, it's kind of like, yeah. And I mean, that's kind of how I feel too sometimes. And I mean, again, normally it doesn't happen because I've always been pretty close on the picks, but when it comes down to things like that, it's like, dude, like, you've got the talent. Like, what's happening here? Like, what are you doing? Like, it's just so weird to see somebody do that. I like that was when I picked like even people like I don't know if you remember this, like Claudio Puelles and Dan Hooker. It was in the pay-per-view a few months ago. And Claudio Puelles is just pulling guard for 15 minutes straight, and he's just lying on his back on the ground. And Dan Hooker's there, just standing there, just kicking his legs, standing up, just waiting for him to stand up again. And I have Puelas, and I'm just sitting there like, stand up. What the fuck are you doing? Like, what's going on? Oh my God. Over and over. I hate people like that, which is, again, why it blows my mind that I even thought of picking Jimmy Flick, because he does similar things too. He pulls guard a lot. It's not a good strategy. You can't win like that against top people. So, again, huge mistake with the Flick thing. But that's what I mean. It's like when you see people like that with all that talent and then they just don't fight. It's maddening. It's infuriating. And trust me, it will keep happening. You will continue to pick people like that, and it'll happen over and over, and you'll say that'll never happen to me again. Trust me, it'll happen again. It'll happen again. There's always new people that look insanely good, and then they turn out to be specialists that then end up being awful. It happens, man. This is just one of those scenarios. But yeah, Duncan, terrible fight IQ, blew that. No idea what was happening there. So 0-2 on that one. I don't think, I mean, there were a couple of chances maybe for a finish, but not really. So never really all that close to getting the under either. So lost because of Duncan, lost because of the under. Most frustrating, yeah, the cage. Oh my God, the cage clinch. Good God. Yeah. I mean, as a viewer too, I mean, holy shit, is that boring? Yeah, but it's true. I mean, Pauga is like that too. Pauga, and he straight up said that, which is what I said last stream too. Pauga straight up said, I'm going to push people into the fence and I'm going to keep them there and I'm just going to elbow them. I'm like, okay, well, now you're telling every single person, don't watch my fights because I'm boring as shit. But also, when you don't get the takedowns, exactly like you're saying, nothing's happening. Like, and technically to the judges, nothing's happening as well. It's just a position change. Technically, that actually means nothing being along the fence if there's no striking. If there's no damage, no takedowns, it's nothing. Nothing to the judges, which is why it's even more frustrating because then you see somebody, especially if you pick them, because then it's like, oh my God, they're getting these clinch position along the fence, but it means nothing because they're not doing any damage. I agree. Very frustrating. I go full tilt sometimes when I see these things. So yeah, that put us down a little bit. But really the big mistake was putting him in the C slot in the parlays because he killed half the parlays because he was in my C slot. I did end up cashing in on the parlays though, so don't worry. We didn't earn a profit, but we were just slightly underneath the profit. We were at minus 0.35. So it wasn't even half a unit down. But that was completely because of Duncan, because all of the other people won. And then Lawrence got his to a no contest. So that technically didn't count. So we would have actually won the parlays there. So yeah, Duncan single handedly tanked those parlays for us, which is why I'm saying should not have put him in the C slot. That was a mistake. You should never put somebody that high up if you don't have enough tape on them. So that was the mistake there. Again, see, I'm still making mistakes. I will admit that. I'm still making mistakes. But the fact that we're so close and I'm making this many mistakes, it really just shows you how close we are here to making huge profit. Really. I mean, like, I made 3 mistakes, which is criminal. I mean, usually I make 1 mistake a week, not 3. So, it's like when you think of it like that, it's like, man, as soon as I just start tightening up these little mistakes, and they are little mistakes that I could easily fix, we're going to be right as rain and we'll be just stacking up the cash. That's for sure. I have no doubt in my mind. Anyway, so moving on from there, it's all because it could be, honestly, it could be. You're not there to steer me right. Who knows? Sarukian, Silva. Holy shit, was that a surprise? My God. I mean, I want to say we shouldn't be making these fights anymore. You know what I mean? The same thing happened to Iavloyev. Iavloyev looked unbeatable. Then he fights this no-name guy, and we're like, is Iavloyev shit, or is this guy amazing? What is happening here? Because he almost gets annihilated by a nobody. Now the same thing happens to Sarukian. I'm like, let's not ruin the illusion that these people are unbeatable. Like Sarukian, I thought was easily going to be the next champ, and then he does this shit, and I'm like, oh my God, what is happening here? Like he almost gets knocked out. What the fuck is happening? Unbelievable. Let's not make these fights anymore. Either way, we did actually make quite a bit of money off of this matchup. It was I put Saruki in round one, so that failed. That was plus 120. But I balanced it out with over 1.5. And by the way, we almost didn't get the over 1.5. He actually almost got a finish in the first half of the second round. And not only to make it worse, by the way, I put money on Saruki and KO, which did cash in. But there was a second there, the first half of the second round, he had a submission locked in deep. So no joke, I was about to go 0-3 because not only did he that would that have been in the second round, it would have been in the first half of the second round, which means first round doesn't win, over 1.5 doesn't win because that's the second half of the round. And I also bet on the KO, so he would have gotten a sub. So I would have gone 0-3. I was almost 0-3 on that. Thankfully, survived to the second half of the round, ended up getting the KO. Thankfully. So we actually did end up making a decent amount of money on that one, but it was very close to being tragic with a second round early submission there. That would have been garbage. I even told myself, I was like, listen, if we if he gets a second round submission right here, I'm turning this off and I'm leaving my house because this is too much for me. I can't go 0-3 on something like that. Unbelievable. Either way, cashed in over 1.5. That was plus 110. So we got the 2.1 units back. That makes up for the Sarukian first round. And then pure greenery on Sarukian KO. That was minus 125, which isn't great odds, but I took it anyway. 1.8. So we did end up with a little bit of money back there. And I wonder if no, it didn't tell me there. Well, I guess I can figure it out mathematically. Oh, and then of course he was also my sniper pick. I forgot to say that. I put 10 units down on him. Could you imagine if he would have gotten knocked out like that? I would have lost 10 units because this nobody smokes Arman Sarukian, one of the best lightweights on the planet. Holy shit. Jumped out the fucking window. Now, he won, so I got it back. So I got back my 11 units, which then makes us technically we were still down because oh well, actually we were up because then I put 3 units on the final matchup, Vittori and Cannoneer, and ended up minus 3.65 on that top part because I went 0-3 in that last matchup, and I'll tell you why. And after that, I mean, like, you'll see why I was laughing by the end of it. It was like, I cannot believe every single time I pick most strikes, like who's going to have the highest strike totals, somebody does something absolutely insane, and I look like an idiot. I put down, no joke, I put down Vittori decision. Clearly that lost, got absolutely blown out of the water, just destroyed the entire time. So that didn't cash in. That's 0-1 right there. Put in under 4.5. There were actually a couple of chances for maybe a finish. Vittori almost got a finish in there. I mean, holy shit. We were close there. So almost cashed that in, didn't. So that was Vittori decision, under 4.5. Obviously, neither one of those cashed in. But what killed me, and I thought I was going to lock this up easily, is I put Vittori for the most strikes. And what does Cannonier do? Beats the middleweight record for most strikes in a fight. Wow. Wow. Now I look like a complete fucking idiot because I put money down on Vittori and Cannonier beats the record. Unbelievable. And by the way, if you did watch I'm sure you did watch the fight. He was actually ahead after 2 rounds. Vittori was way up on the striking numbers and he was easily winning the fight. So I was like, "Oh man, I even thought no, there was actually a moment in the second round where Vittori was doing so well, I genuinely thought he was going to get a finish. So I would have cashed in the under 4.5 and Vittori most strikes. Oh, he also, oh, never mind. He wasn't in the parlay, so I wouldn't have cashed that in. But I almost cashed in both of those. Turns out, cashed in none of them. 0 for 3. Did exactly what he needed to do against Izzy. Yeah. Actually, I do kind of disagree with that because if you think about it, and I think they were kind of hinting at it too, who is Izzy fighting right now in Australia? We don't have an answer yet. They were actually waiting to see what happened this past weekend, or they're waiting to see what happens with Whitaker and Duplessis. But I think we kind of all realize that unless Whitaker gets an easy finish, Whitaker's not going to be fighting Izzy in Australia. That's too quick of a turnaround. It's too much. I think it's too much damage. And I mean, DDP, if he wins, that's going to be a rough win too. I honestly just don't think it's in the cards because that fight's in August, late August, early September, I think. I don't know. I just don't think it's happening, which means maybe they do give Cannonier a chance. I actually think that that could very easily be what happens because Cannonier didn't really get damaged much. He looked insanely good. He's shown that he's solved his main problem. His whole problem was that he wasn't active, which is exactly what you said. You know, he was inactive. Like, I mean, you know what I mean. He wasn't being active enough with his striking to win the fight. So it was frustrating to watch. I agree because I was thinking the same thing. I was like, he's not really doing a whole lot here. He could, he's capable. He's just not doing it. And I think this time it is completely different story. I think he would end up being way more active, making the fight a lot more interesting. So I actually do think that Izzy saw that. Well, he did see it. He did comment on it after because he did tweet after, kind of making it sound like maybe that's an option. Yeah. I don't think they're going to wait though. Because if Izzy doesn't fight, they have no headliner. You know? Like I just don't they Izzy has to fight. And Izzy wanted to fight in July. And that's not happening, you know? So I think they have to find somebody for a fight for Izzy in whatever that is, late August, early September. They have to find somebody. So I don't know. I just don't know if they can turn around that fast. I just don't know if that's reasonable or not. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe. It depends who wins too. Because like I said, can Drekus do that? He's huge. Can he actually, do the weight cut again safely and go? I don't know. I just don't know. I don't know. I think they're way better off if they do Cannonier. But they were also saying, I think it was on the MMA Hour they were saying this because they were discussing the same thing, like what would be happening. They didn't mention Cannonier, which I thought was interesting. They did mention Strickland though, so it's like, which is weird because he's actually fighting in a couple weeks, which is later than now. But it's like, really, like I don't know. I just don't think that's interesting either. Like, who cares? Because Strickland's going to be beating, if he wins, Abu Smagomedov. Like, who gives a shit? You're not gonna get a title off of Abu Smagomedov. Like, what? No. So Cannonier's way above Strickland. And the other only two options are Adrikas and Rob. So I don't know. I think Cannonier might be, I think that might be where they're going to be going with it. We'll see. I mean, and I'd actually like to see that. And that's also why I think they're going to be doing it, because it's not a bad fight. It's not a bad fight. It's an interesting fight. Cannonier got a lot better. I think he can make it interesting. I'd like to see it. So we'll see. We'll see what they do with that. Oh, yeah. We'll go over the parlays quickly, and then we will go, we'll take a break for a minute. And then, of course, this week's card. So, as I said, did not make money on the parlays, but we were so very, very close. Of course, we had A, B, C, D, E, and F. So A was Sarukian, B was Bledja. They both won easily. Excuse me. Wow. They both won easily, no question. Well, actually, Sarukian I wouldn't necessarily call that an easy win, but he won. So won those. C was Duncan. That's where I made the mistake. He shouldn't have been C. I should have put him down a little bit lower, and probably put Torres up a little bit higher. Maybe Bukauskas. I don't know. So yeah, C loses, and then we go D, E, F. D is Bukauskas. He won. E is Lawrence. Technically a no contest. Also technically lost, but didn't affect it because Duncan lost, like I said. And then F was Torres, and he won easily. So that means the ABC parlay lost because of Duncan. The ADF parlay, that would have been Sarukian, Bukauskas, Torres, cash that in. That was 1.29 units back because we put half a units on the parlays. Fantastic. Got some profit there. The BCE parlay lost, of course, because C is Duncan. ABDF parlay, that's the 4-leg one. Nailed that. That was Sarukian, Bledja, Bukauskas, Torres. That was 1.86. So got that one as well. And then the ACDE, of course, didn't cash in either because that was Duncan again. He lost us 4 parlays, because then the fourth one, of course, is the entire card, not the entire card, the entirety, all 6 of them. I always put half a unit on that. So that, of course, did not cash in either. All because of Duncan. Duncan, you bastard. So that means that we went minus 0.35. So only 0.35 units down on the parlays. So close. So close. So close. And then, like I said, the upper half, which is the single bets, that was minus 3.65. And that, again, I made a couple mistakes there. I will freely admit that could have been better. Made a couple mistakes on the picks there. My bad. Which brings us to minus 4. That is it. Minus 4. No biggie. You know, I've seen a lot worse. I've done a lot worse. Minus 4. Especially since I made 2, 3, 4 mistakes on there. I'm pretty happy with minus 4. That's yeah. Yeah, I mean, like I said, yeah, bad luck, and then the flick pick. Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, you know, I'm not saying that I'm, you know, blind to my mistakes or anything, but I like to think that it's like I'm optimistic and I'm pretty realistic as well. I wouldn't say that I'm too optimistic all the time. You know, it's like, okay, well, you're losing money. It's like, well, yeah, I'm losing money, but I'm losing money because I'm making silly mistakes. If I don't make silly mistakes, then we're good and I win money. It's just that simple. So we'll get there. We'll get there. Looking forward to it. Oh yeah, the break. We got to take our break now. We'll be back in a minute, right after I get the ad lined up here. Where is it? It's always so hard to find these things. We'll be right back after this.
Allow me to introduce Pie Stick Vodka, a new way to celebrate victory. Gather around the glass with an award-winning, ultra-premium Canadian-made vodka. You probably won't listen when I say High Stick Vodka has a smooth, hard-hitting taste, or that it's developed in the birthplace of hockey. You won't listen when I say High Stick Vodka is a tribute to the game of hockey, or when I tell you it's distilled 4 times using Canada's purest mountain spring water to provide an authentic, remarkable flavor. But maybe you will listen when I say it comes in a fucking hockey stick. Showcase your passion for hockey with our limited edition hand-blown hockey stick bottle. Whether you're celebrating victory or drinking to defeat, High Stick Vodka is better after every shot. Visit us at highstickvodka.com. It also comes in this regular bottle. Celebrate victory. Drink responsibly.
And we're back. So we'll get jumping right into it. UFC. I was gonna say UFC Vegas again. UFC Jacksonville. That's what we're gonna be going with. I think we went to Jacksonville, like, what was it, like 6 months ago, or was that Orlando? I feel like we just went to Jacksonville. I don't know. UFC Jacksonville 2, UFC on ABC 4, 5. Who the fuck knows what these things are called anymore? Like I said, we're just gonna call it UFC Jacksonville. That's what I'm going with. First fight of the night, at least as it stands right now. Cody Brundage, Cedric Dumas. You know, I don't really trust either one of these guys, if I'm being honest. But I gotta say, I liked Dumas when I saw him on the Contender Series. What I saw in his first fight, not so good. Not so good at all. Very bad, actually. In fact, so bad that I would be actually pretty surprised if Brundage lost this. And that's saying quite a bit because I don't really trust Brundage either. So this is a tough one, but I got to go with Brundage because Dumas just looked, he just kind of looked, there's a difference between somebody who should be in the UFC and somebody who's kind of on that edge. And Dumas is very much on that edge. He doesn't seem to have the cardio to go into really the second round. He doesn't really have great wrestling. He's got submissions, so he's got the jiu-jitsu, but not really the wrestling part of it. He gets hit a lot. Like his striking wasn't ideal either. And Brundage has just been around for a little bit longer. He's been doing better. He's gotten finishes. I just trust him a little bit more. The odds are minus 184 for Brundage. Dumas plus 150 right now. You got to go with Brundage. I mean, I really didn't see anything from Dumas at all that tells me he's going to be a problem at all. So because minus 200 is my cutoff, of course, as I've said over and over again, for that, for betting straight up, just single bets. So if it does go over that minus 200 mark for Brundage, which I think it will, we're going to have to balance that out. Got to go with the finish. I mean, I think we're going to see a finish on either side. So I've got to go with Brundage by finish. That'll bring the odds a little bit lower for you there. So that's that pick. The over-under is at 1.5 because of what I just said. There should be a finish in this one. The over 1.5 is at plus money. That's 130. The under 1.5, minus 167. You really could go either way on this, to be honest, because they've got a lot of finishes on both sides, but they're both fairly tough. It's plus money on a 1.5. I don't like betting under 1.5 because it's so hard to do that. So I think plus money, I feel like you got to go for it. I feel like plus 130 over 1.5. I feel like you got to go for that. I don't know. And, if Dumas gets the first round KO, you get it. Brundage gets the finish in the first round anyway, you still get money. I feel like that's the smart way to bet it. Over 1.5 plus 130, and then Brundage finish should be down into the plus money. So I feel like we should end up with a good spread there. It's a tougher one. It's one of those tougher situations. You see some unusual things when you've got some unpredictable people in there. Then we've got Tatsuro Taira and Clayson Rodriguez. I'm not convinced this is as one-sided as the odds suggest, which means I gotta go for the underdog. I gotta do it. Tatsuro Taira, who is very, very good, is minus 267. But I feel like people don't really understand how good Clayson actually is. He is unbelievable. Like, he is really, really good as well. I think they're both somewhat equal. I think Tyra probably has the better cardio. So I think that's kind of where he edges it out, probably. But it's pretty close. I really could see either one of these guys winning. So I gotta go for the underdog on this point, just because of the odds. Plus 210 for Rodriguez right now. I gotta do that because I'm not entirely sold on either guy yet, just because they haven't really gone to that next level yet. This is that next level really for both of them. So we'll find out here. We will really find out who is the next probably top 15 guy. Is it going to be Tyra? Is it going to be Rodriguez? We will find out. And I'm looking forward to it because this is going to be an insane fight. Amazing. It is going to be one of the best fights of the night for sure. But I'm not sure who's going to win. So I got to go with the underdog. Rodriguez plus 210. That's where we're going. Over 2.5, under 2.5. Over is at plus 112 right now. I don't think either one of these guys is planning on getting finished. They're both really durable, really skilled. I don't know if they're going to take it too slow per se, but I think they're going to be a little more careful because they know how good each other is. So I'm seeing this longer. They're both tough. They're both going to be a little more careful. I could see this going to a decision pretty easily. So plus 112, you got to take the money. You got to take the plus money, of course. So that's where we're going with that one as well. Next up, it is, as far as it looks right now. Ooh, I forget his name. Yeah, Jamal Emmers, Jack Jenkins. Had to think of their first names there. Jamal Emmers, Jack Jenkins. Another fairly one-sided one, and I'm not really fully convinced this one's really that one-sided either. Jamal Emmers, minus 209. I mean, he's going against Jack Jenkins, who is extremely dangerous on the feet. Maybe doesn't have quite the grappling as Emmers, but he shut down the grappling pretty easily in his last fight. Was never really taken down. So, and Jamal Emmers was fighting somebody who had never really fought anybody that great at all. So, I think Jenkins is a pretty live dog here too. I'm taking the dog again. You gotta plus 166. I gotta do it. And the leg kicks. Holy fuck. I think he's probably got the best leg kicks I've ever seen, except for maybe like Barboza, probably. Maybe Fiziev. But Jenkins, those calf kicks and the leg kicks, good God. He's gotten, I want to say three KOs, 3 leg kick TKOs. That's unreal. That is unbelievable. So yeah, you definitely do not want to miss that. And I think he definitely has a chance. I always have a hard time with these earlier prelim fights, but I mean today I just realized that the most recent wins on Tapology go from left and not. Yeah. So what do I really know? That's so funny. I actually don't look at what I do, and maybe you want to do this too, because I find it works really well for Tapology. I have 2 tabs open. I have one tab where I look through, you know how it's got the event page, and then it has them on both sides. So I go in and click on, the person's profile, their Tapology profile, where it says all of the information in all of those. And then on the other tab, I have where you put in your choices. So then you can do the research on one tab, put your choices in, put your picks in on the other tab. That's how I do it. Just a little tip, because I find that I don't get enough information on the, where it has the 5 little dots where it says L, W, L, D, whatever. I don't find I get enough information from that. So I choose to have 2 tabs open and do it like that. Whatever you think, whatever works for you, but I find that works best for me. And then the over under. The over under. I mean, like I said, Jack Jenkins, he's live. He is live for a KO. I could very easily see that. I want to say he may have been submitted before, so maybe Emmers gets a sub. Either way, why not put it? I mean, plus money for the under. It could definitely be there. I mean, though, especially those leg kicks. I mean, seriously, if somebody lands one of those properly, the fight's over. Like, that's it. And he has done it 3 times already. I mean, it's not out of the question that he could just do it again. So I'll put it down for sure on the under there for plus money again. Again, plus money makes the world go round. Makes sense. I only make picks based on those wins and losses when I've never ever seen them, which usually goes, yeah, that's fair. I do see what you're saying there for sure. But I also find that even looking through the wins and losses, so like you see they lost to this person. And, I didn't know who all these people were at first either. I didn't know all these names for LFA and Bellator and all that at first either. But I find that when I clicked on the result to see who that person, how good that person is, like how good is that person that they lost to or that they beat? Because you could be 15-0, but if you're only fighting cans that are terrible, your 15-0 record means shit all. That's why I have to look through, which is why, like I'm saying, that win-loss record, those little bubbles, that literally could mean absolutely nothing. That's why I have to be looking through. I don't know. But again, that's just me. That's just me. I just like to have the most information possible. Next up, Trevor Peak and what was his name again? Is it like Peche Mariscal? Something like that. It was a weird first name, an unusual first name. Although a lot of people are picking Peak, he is not good. He is terrible, actually. So I don't really trust anybody that fights like that. Anybody that's throwing hammer fists when they're standing, I don't trust you at all, especially when you got wrecked a couple of times. Like he got hit pretty hard quite a few times, and the other guy wasn't really the most technical guy either. So I don't really trust any part of Trevor Peak. The other guy, I will say, and I will fully admit, he doesn't look great either, but he does look more technical and he's got a lot of grappling. And if you watched Trevor Peak's fight, he got taken down pretty easily. So I just don't think he's going to get a whole bunch of chances to use that wild street fighting style that he's got. I just don't think he's going to be able to use it as much, which is why I've got to go with the underdog. But also, like I said, I mean, I just don't trust somebody that fights like that because pretty soon he will fight somebody that's just not going to work. They're just going to be way too quick, way too technical, just out grapple him, out strike him. They're going to just make him look like an amateur essentially. So I don't trust people like that. I'm not going to put any money on him. So I've got to put it on the underdog, which I don't, where's the odds on this one? Maybe because it's a new matchup, they didn't put it up yet. Yep, no odds. Wow, that sucks. That sucks. They do not have the odds for it. But if I look on the other side, I can at least tell you who is looking like the underdog. I won't say which site I'm on, but it's not the one that we're sponsored by. Oh, it's dead even on that site. Very interesting. So you could, yeah, he's a bad pick from a technical standpoint, but if people like him, the UFC will push. Oh, 100%. But the problem with that strategy, and we've seen the UFC get burned by that quite a bit, even lately. What just happened to Dvorak? We literally just saw it. They gave Dvorak a can, or somebody, not necessarily a can, but they gave him somebody new. And what happened? Now they lost somebody ranked in the top 15. It doesn't always work. And I mean, they almost just did it to Sarukian. Iavloyev almost had the same thing happen to him. I think that's what they were trying to do with Frivola and Dober. Dober got fucked up because of it. It happens. Like they try. And what did they do with Patty? Holy shit. They tried to give Patty the baddie, Jared Gordon, thinking it was an easy matchup, and he loses. Bullshit. Fuck what the results say. We all know he lost that fight. I mean, that backfired right there. So they do try. They try their best, but it does not work all the time. And I don't know if this is one of those situations where it works or not. We'll see. We'll see. But yeah, it is dead even, which means we go with whoever looks like the best pick. I trust the other guy a little bit more, so I'm going with him, minus 110. Also, I do think throughout the week, I will say Trevor Peak is probably going to end up being the favorite because of exactly what you just said, because enough people like him, the UFC likes him, he's going to end up being the favorite. That's just how the betting lines work. So that will probably mean that Mariscal will be an underdog, which means we're going to be picking him anyway. So logic still applies. We're still picking Mariscal. Over under. Oh, of course, because we don't have the odds here. I'll check this other site. Maybe they have it. Actually, they don't. They do not have an over under, but I would imagine you'd be going with the under no matter what. I'd even pick the under if it was under 1.5. That's what I'm going to do. Because, yeah, Peak is not a guy that is going to last more than a round and a half. I'd be shocked if he ever made it to the third round. So, got to go with the under 1.5 when that comes up. Next up, who do we have next? Oh, I got to go back to my spreadsheet here. Ooh, the unluckiest man in the UFC, Zhalgas Zhumagulov. Love him. Super nice guy. Still the unluckiest person in the UFC. And I've been saying this for each of his last 3 scheduled fights. And I say scheduled fights because now he had another fight cancellation in his last one, which was supposed to be, what was that, like 2-3 weeks ago? This guy cannot catch a break. But I will say, fingers crossed, knock on wood, I think he might have caught a break, finally. I think they might be throwing him a bone here because of actually exactly what you just said about Peak. They like him, the UFC likes him, and they feel bad that he keeps getting screwed over with the split decisions, the canceled opponents, all of this garbage. They're finally giving him a break with somebody that he should be able to absolutely dominate. This is an easy matchup for him. He should be able to win this really easily. So I'm going Zhalgas Zhumagulov by finish. You gotta do it. I mean, karma, like he's got so much bad karma from all this garbage going on. The universe has got to make it right. I've got to believe that the universe is going to make this right for him. I got to go Zhumagulov finish. I have to believe that there's some good in this world. Over under is over 2.5 is actually favored. Very interesting. Minus 200. I don't like that at all. Because I will say the reason why I don't like this is because I also watched tape on Joshua Van. That's who he's fighting. I should have said that right away. He gets taken down very easily. That is how he has lost his fights. He gets taken down easily, and he's been submitted a couple times. What does Zhumagulov do to people? He takes them down and he submits them. Tailor-made matchup. Come on. Don't fuck this up, Zhumagulov. We cannot fuck this up. He's got the perfect style for you. You're way better than him. You got to go with it, which means, of course, you got to go the under. I mean, come on. He should be able to take him down easily and submit him in the first or the second round. That's my prediction. I would be a little surprised if he didn't get it done, to be honest, in this one. Plus 150 for under 2.5. Come on. Like, let's go. Like, we gotta cash this in. I would actually be a little surprised if we didn't make money on this matchup. I would be pissed. And I would also be devastated for Zhumagulov because if he doesn't cash in both of those, I think he's probably getting cut, to be honest. It's like at a certain point, you just got to cut him loose because yeah, this is not looking good for him. Anyway, but it is looking good for him this weekend. Get it done. Cash it in. We should be able to cash in both of those. Zhumagulov finish under 2.5. Let's get it done. Then we've got our Canadian, the best female Canadian around, Jillian Robertson. I was actually no, she might not be the best Canadian around because Jasmine Jasdavicius might be the best Canadian woman now. Who knows? But Jillian Robertson, Jillian. I keep wanting to say Julian Ribbert. Like I keep getting my fucking names mixed up. Jillian Robertson looks very good, and I think she has a pretty good chance in this one. I really do. It's close. It's very close. And because it's close, what does that mean? Got to go for the underdog. Who's Robertson anyway? Plus 108. We got to go with Robertson. But I will say she's a lot bigger. She's a lot bigger than Ricci. She fought at 125 for her entire career up until her last fight. And this is where she belongs. She belongs at 115. She's way bigger than most of the girls here. She's stronger than them. She's better than them on the ground. I think this could very easily happen for her. Ricci is very small. She has, I think, like maybe the third shortest reach or something, second shortest or something. So no reach. She's really tiny. She can get it done. She can definitely get it done. Ricci is very good on the ground. So that's where I'm not 100% sure, because Ricci could end up on top where she's very good and just keep Robertson there, win on the cards like that. I would not be surprised if that's what happened. But other than that, I don't really know how Ricci would win. I mean, she's not going to knock her out. I don't think she would even necessarily. Oh, she probably would win on the feet though. But yeah, it's tough. Yeah, Canadian fighter picks will confuse me for. Yeah, I trust me, I agree. And and that's exactly what I mean. It is a coin toss. So because it's a coin toss, you always go with the underdog in terms of betting because if it's 50-50, the odds will balance out over the long run and you'll win by betting on the underdog like that, which is what this entire thing is based off of. So yeah, smart bet, definitely Robertson. But as for Tapology, I think I did pick. Did I pick Robertson? What did I do here? Let me go into my Tapology picks here. You're getting an exclusive here because I actually keep my picks private until after. I actually picked Ricci because it was the wrestling. I think it was because she always seems to end up on top. She always seems to end up on top. Robertson tends to end up on the bottom. So her size could make a difference in this, where she actually does end up reversing Ricci quite a bit. But actually, maybe I might switch my pick. I don't know. Nah, Ricci. I don't know. That's a tough one. It's a coin toss. I don't know. But in terms of the betting, the bet will never change. It has to be the underdog, which is Robertson. The over-under, minus 209 for over. I mean, Robertson has the most finishes. I think she has the most finishes at flyweight, does she not? I think, right? I think so. She's definitely top 3 or top 5. I make my picks and stick to them, so you can give me any spoilers you want. Nah. No spoilers. What was I gonna say? It was something about Robertson. Oh yeah, Robertson. I think she has the most finishes in flyweight. So now we're at strawweight. Strawweight now. So why would she not be able to get a finish? I could see that. So plus 150, under 2.5 for the flyweight with the most finishes. Why not? Plus money. I mean, it's definitely the money's there. The money's there. We'll go with that. This next one, though, I will say I'm not fully convinced on either side, and I might actually be changing my mind on this later because I I've really been going back and forth on this. Most finishes. Yeah, that's what I thought. Mateusz Rebeshki and Loic Rajabov. I really thought I would never pick against Rebeshki because he is just a tank. He is a tank. I love watching him. I love every second of it because he is just relentless, and he will throw everything at it with every shot that he throws. I love that. I love people like that. It's like that Michael Chandler kind of vibe. Anybody like that, I will watch every single one of their fights. They are so entertaining. But the problem is Loic is kind of similar. He's got a similar skill set, but he's a little more patient, and he can last all 3 rounds, whereas Rebeshki kind of slowed down. So I'm a little worried. And Rajabov got hit quite a bit, and he took it pretty well. Didn't seem to get bugged by getting hit quite a bit. So I'm actually going back and forth on this one. I don't know. And because of that, I kind of think I have to put money on Rajabov. I know it's crazy because Rebeshki just seems like an absolute monster, but that Fiore fight, his last fight against Nick Fiore, I watched it last night. That's concerning. That's concerning when you tire out like that. When he doesn't get the early finish, it's rough. And Rajabov doesn't slow down. He can keep up his pace for 3 rounds. So that worries me. That worries me quite a bit. Not to mention the Tajikistan fighters, they've been killing it. They have been killing it lately as underdogs as well. So got another Tajik underdog here. A little nervous, not going to lie. So I think I got to put money on the underdog on this. I don't know. Man, I did go back and forth on this for quite a while. I think I got to go the underdog though. Over under, you definitely got to go the under. I mean, holy shit. Because if Rebeshki lands anything huge, I mean, holy shit. Like, he definitely could win easily. So, yeah, we've got to we've got to go the under on this one. That's a no-brainer. Plus 145. That's what that's at. Plus 125 for Rajabov. So we're going double underdogs here. Got to go for it. And what do we got here? Speaking of Chandler, that stupid scream he does for the tough promo. Yeah, I'm not really a fan of it, honestly. Yeah, I don't really like it either. Yeah, it is a bit weird. I did like, though, the meme that was made about him for making the face that he made after winning the fight last week. That was kind of funny. I like that one. But yeah, the one in the intro, nah, I don't. It's not a good look. I don't really like it either. Another actually were you surprised did you see the one yesterday? Because I was a little surprised that it was that close. If I won't say who won if you didn't see it yet, but I will say I was just surprised by how close that fight was. Yeah, I don't want to say anything else until you say that you've seen it because I don't want to ruin it for you. What do we got here? Oh, you did. Yes. Okay, good. Yeah, I mean, obviously Valiev was the pretty clear choice going in, but I thought he was going to just walk right through him. I really did, but it was close. That first round, I was like, hey, yikes. Like, he might have actually lost that round. That was close. I mean, I don't really agree with McGregor after saying, oh, you should have had a third round. He won the first. Like, it was close, but that doesn't count. Like, if he wins on the cards in both rounds for all the judges, that's it. Like, fight's over. Fight's over and tough. So don't really agree on that point, but it was definitely a lot closer than I thought. And Brad Katona next week. Easy win for Katona. I mean, Katona is very good. And by the way, I actually didn't know this. I didn't know this until literally today. Katona's Canadian? Am I the only one that didn't know that? So yeah, we got a Canadian up next week, and he's looking like a huge favorite. Actually, a lot of people think he's going to win the show. He won, but for some reason also seemed to be throwing every move he could. Just yeah, well, maybe that's what it looked like. But I will say that is kind of his style. He does throw a lot of spinning stuff, so that wasn't really just the show. For the show, he does fight like that. He really, Valiev does fight like that normally. So that wasn't too surprising that he started to throw stuff like that. But yeah, Brad Katona, Canadian. Actually, I don't remember where he's from. I could look it up here. But yeah, let's see here. Where is Brad Katona from? Brad, because I'm actually not sure now either. Whoopsie. He is from Winnipeg. How about that? What a shithole. I just went there a couple of years ago. No, it was actually kind of nice. I didn't mind it. But he's fighting out of Ireland, which is very interesting because he is not on Connor's team. Anyway, back to the picks, of course. Where are we here? Radjabov over. Yes. And this is where I kind of petered out last night. I didn't quite get to do all my picks last night and watch all the tape. So from now on, I have not watched the tape yet. So I might be changing things slightly, but probably not. I did look through Tapology and make the picks that way. But we know how that worked out with Jimmy Flick. So I might be changing a couple of these. That being said, I actually do feel fairly confident about most of the main card because I think a lot of these are fairly one-sided, to be honest. At least they should be. Like, they should be if they perform the way they should. So that starts out with Randy Brown and Wellington Turman. Turman is quite easily one of the worst fighters I've ever seen. So I'd be shocked if he won this because Randy Brown is pretty good. So that's a no-brainer. That is a parlay pick for sure. Meaning, and he's above minus 200 right now. He's at minus 240. Gotta bring that lower. So gotta put the finish on that one. Or actually, maybe decision because of the way the odds work out. Oh, no, actually, no, it would be under. Yeah. So Randy Brown finish. That's where we're going to go with to bring the odds lower. Over under is they're favoring the under in the over under minus 134, which means to balance it out, excuse me, we'll do over 2.5 because that's plus 105. So if Turman's really tough, Brown doesn't get the finish, we'll cash it in, and then the other one doesn't matter. That's how the system works. We get money either way. Not close enough for me to know, but I understand that Winnipeg does. Yeah. I don't think I truly, and I actually mean this, I don't think I've ever heard anybody say great things about Winnipeg. And that includes people from Winnipeg. My dad was born in Winnipeg. He does not like Winnipeg. I've met a lot of people that have moved away from Winnipeg. They don't say good things about Winnipeg. I've been to Winnipeg. I don't have good things to say about Winnipeg. No, I have some good things. I will say I went to a few restaurants there, and the restaurants truly were amazing. I had amazing food in Winnipeg. That is the nicest thing I have to say. Everything else, no. Everything else, there's no reason to be there, truly. I mean, I did go, to be fair, in like February or March. So it was a frozen hellscape at minus 20 degrees. So I don't think that was really set up for me to have a great time. But that's what it is like in Winnipeg. It's not just not a great time overall. Anyway, enough shitting on Winnipeg. Moving on. Brendan Allen and Bruno Silva had to think about. Oh, I skipped one again. My goodness. I'm skipping so much today. Neil Magny. I have cheated. Oh, cheered for the Jets and have been disappointed as a winner. Yeah. I will say I cheered for the Winnipeg Jets as well when they were in the playoffs. I think it was a couple of years ago because they were, I think, one of the last Canadian teams in. So I was like, I got to cheer for Winnipeg. And I'll cheer for the Jets. I mean, but especially since I've been there, the people were nice. I don't have a vendetta against Winnipeg. I just would never want to go there again. But I don't hate it. I don't hate them. I hate Toronto. Hate people from Toronto. Hate everything about Toronto. But don't hate Winnipeg for that reason. Leafs fans. Yeah. Oh, you're a Leafs fan. Get the fuck off of my stream. Awful. Awful. Moving on. We should stop talking about this before we create a divide in between us. Neil Magny, Philip Rowe. I don't even think this is close. I'm not really sure. Don't live in Toronto, thankfully. Well, there you go. You've got that for you. I don't have a problem with the rest of Ontario, just Toronto, because everybody from Toronto thinks they're from the center of everybody thinks that Toronto is the center of the universe if you're from there. Hate that shit. Like, no. No. Your fans suck usually. Your teams usually suck. I obviously cheer for the Raptors, of course. But other than that, no. Not a fan. Anyway, we're getting off topic again. My goodness. And I don't want to shit on fellow Canadians here, but it's true. Philip Rowe, Neil Magny, Phil Rowe. He's not good. This is another Wellington Turman situation. He's just not good. And Neil Magny has the most wins out of any welterweight I think they're in. So I'd be surprised if he lost this. I don't think it's going to be anything crazy. I just think he's going to win a decision. And we're going to be like, oh, cool. Neil Magny won again. Who gives a shit? Like, it's not... These aren't hard fights to win. And I think that's kind of what they're doing. It's that situation where you said earlier, they're giving him fights that he can win just so he can extend his record streak. That's what's happening here. Gotta go Magny. Minus 172 he's at, which is lower than I thought. And if that does go over the minus 200 mark, which it could, we're going decision because he gets a lot of decision wins. So you got to balance it out with the decision, especially since the over-under is favoring the over. So balance it out with the under 2.5. And then he'll just be a play. Exactly. That's already what he is. He's been, I forget how long they said he's been in the rankings. It's like something crazy. It's like 2016 or something like that. He's been in the top 15 for pretty much almost a decade, I think. It is crazy, but yeah, it's just not, that's exactly what it is. Really, is Phil Rowe is not top 15, so he won't beat Phil Magny. I mean, Phil Magny. He won't beat Neil Magny. That's just how it works. Magny beats everybody that doesn't belong in the top 15, and he loses to everybody that does. That's the definition of a gatekeeper. That is exactly what he is. And he will win this one too. So yeah, easy picks on that one. Next one I think is fairly easy too. Brendan Allen, Bruno Silva. Even though I don't like Brendan Allen, I just don't like him as a person. I don't know what it is either. He seems nice actually. It's just, I don't know if it's his face, where he's from, the way he acts. I don't know what it is. I truly don't know what it is. Maybe it's just that I don't think he's the best fighter, but he keeps somehow winning. I don't know what it is, but he bugs me. He bugs me a lot. But he's also pretty easily going to win this fight. I mean, Silva has looked terrible in his last couple fights, and I'm honestly shocked. I really thought this guy was going to be somebody to look out for in the top 15, and then he's just getting, I don't even know what's happening. I mean, you get submitted by Mearshart in the first round, and then what happened to him after that again? Let me see here. Gotta go head over to Tapology here. He beat Brad Tavares by knockout, but again, it's Tavares. He hasn't looked great either. Oh yeah, he lost to, Pereira. That was the loss that made sense. I mean, okay, lost to Pereira. Okay. But yeah, submitted by Mearshart in the third round, and wasn't even really that he didn't really look that good at all. I don't know. So I just don't think he's gonna win that. I don't know. He just kind of fell off a cliff. He's just one of those guys. Whereas Allen, I mean, he's a submission ace. So I mean, if you got submitted by Mearshart, you're probably gonna get submitted by Brendan Allen. It's just how it is. I don't know. I don't know what else to say other than that. And I mean, he submitted Muniz. Muniz is a is a black belt and a BJJ world champion. If you can submit Muniz, you can submit anybody. So I'm pretty confident in the fact that Allen's going to win. In fact, I haven't fully committed to my sniper pick this week, but I am very much leaning towards Brendan Allen because he has looked so solid. He's still somewhat young. He's got the submission. He's got the, I mean, the BJJ edge. He's got the wrestling edge. He probably he might not have he probably doesn't have the striking edge, but he doesn't really need it. Cuz I mean, listen, if Gerald Mearshart can last to the 3rd round with you, you're probably not much of a striker. that's just that's just a fact. I don't know. I don't know what else to say. He's not really much of a striker. So if you can't do anything by then and you still lose, you're probably not going to be much of a threat to Brendan Allen here. So I'm going Allen, and he might end up being my sniper pick for the week. And I agree, it is partially his face, and it's also partially his stupid hat, the raccoon hat that the South, because they do that from the South. I think it's the Carolinas he's from. He's got his stupid raccoon hat. Fuck, that's dumb. It's got to be one of the worst hats. It's got to be. There are a lot of dumb hats on this planet, and that has got to be up there. Moving on. Oh, the over under. That's a tough one. This is a weird one. It's over under 1.5. They are favoring heavily that over 1.5. I would probably just go under 2.5. I bet that's in there somewhere. I would think. Or over 2.5. Oof. No, I'd be going over 2.5. I'd be going over 2.5 because I could see either winning in a decision. They're both kind of tough. They both have problems being aggressive at some points. So I wouldn't really be surprised if this drags on into a decision. So yeah, I could see over 2.5, I guess. And then, but definitely Brendan Allen though. Holy shit. And I'd be putting money on Allen finish, of course, to balance that out as well. So I guess it does balance out like that. See, we're finding ways to balance everything out. Next up, David Onama and Santos. I'm trying to figure out the first name. There's so many guys named Santos and Silva. It is difficult to remember who's who at this point. I will have to look this up. Hold on. It is Gabriel Santos. I never would have remembered that. Gabriel Santos and David Onama. I don't think this is really all that close either. I haven't really been impressed by David Onama. I don't know if you felt the same way. I mean, that Landwehr fight kind of sealed it for me that he's not really as good as we thought he was. He also lost another one that was kind of like, he probably should have won that. Yeah, and he hasn't really been finishing the people that I kind of think everybody thought he was going to finish. So just haven't really been impressed. And then on the other side, Gabriel Santos, only one fight in the UFC, but looked really good. I got to go with Santos. I really do on this one. I just haven't been impressed at all by what I've seen from Onama. As for how to lower it, because Santos is a pretty big favorite now, minus 234. We want to lower these odds a little bit. I guess you got to go with Santos decision because the over-under is at 2.5 right now, and they're favoring the under. So I guess to balance it out as best as possible, Santos decision's probably the best way to go. Oh. Wait, that wouldn't make any sense. Because over 2.5 is plus 100. Wait, that's a tough one. No, I take that back. I take that back. Scratch that. Replay. Rewind. Gabriel Santos by finish is what you should go with, because Onama is pretty tough to finish, as we saw from Landwehr. Santos probably has the edge, so that probably means a decision. Maybe Onama is better than we think and he wins a decision. I can see that. So over plus 100. Yeah, we'll go with that, which means Santos finish is the way to balance it out. I like that. I like that. Took a while, but we got there. We got there. Yeah, and he definitely did get exposed, because I actually thought he was looking real good before those matchups, and that was just like, ooh, we got to take it easy when we're betting on this guy. That's for sure. This one is a little tougher. This next one, actually, the next two are a little bit tough. What was I going to say? Justin Tafa and Austin Lane. I had to look up. I keep wanting to say Nathan Lane. Obviously, Nathan Lane is not a fighter. So Austin Lane and Justin Tafa. This one's a little close because I have not seen the tape on this yet. So I don't remember how good Austin Lane actually is. I genuinely cannot remember how good he is. But from what I do remember, Tafa is pretty dangerous, pretty experienced. He's been around for a while, gets a lot of finishes, pretty tough guy as well. And Lane was on the Contender Series. That's kind of it. He's lost by knockout before. I definitely favor Tafa in this. I mean, it just seems to be like, and again, like what you said before, this is one of those scenarios where they're kind of giving Tafa a chance to get a win in here because they want to keep Tafa. The Tafa name has been around for a long time. So you don't like Tafa? Oh, that's too bad. I think it's just because he's inconsistent. Because I think he's a cool guy. He seems like he's Australian. How can you not like an Australian? Actually, he might be New Zealand. Either way, cool area to be from. He seems like a cool guy. I think he's probably pretty cool. But if you're thinking of it from a betting perspective, I could see why you probably don't like him, because he is kind of inconsistent. Anyway, and he should be better. I think he should be a lot better than he actually is, because he's got the skill. He just maybe doesn't use it properly. Anyway, so it's at minus 180 right now for Tafa. That is obviously still within that minus 200, and it looks good, but I would imagine that is going to balloon out of control very soon and go above that minus 200 mark. And we're at heavyweight. Why would you not just pick Tafa KO? Just pick Tafa KO. He's not going to get a sub. I can sure as shit tell you that, because he's never gotten a sub in his life, I don't think. I could check that right now for you just to make sure. Just to make sure he doesn't have a sub in there somewhere. He does not. He has only knockouts. So, I mean, the obvious way to bring down those odds, Tafa, KO. And then for the over-under, they do not have odds for that. Maybe they have it on this other site. So again, I can kind of give you an idea of where we're going with this. Oh, they do. Oh, good Lord. Wow. This is crazy. The odds under 1.5, minus 225 for under 1.5. That is unreal. So I think just because of the numbers, you have to go over 1.5, because you shouldn't put under 1.5. You should not put money down if it's minus 225. That is not a smart idea. So, you got to put money on the over at that point. I like that. I like all Australian. Oh, why have I not been putting up your comments? I just realized that people probably think I'm talking to myself if they see this. I'm actually reading comments from people, by the way, for anybody that might be listening eventually. I am reading comments. I just keep forgetting to put them up. I like all Australian, New Zealand fighters. I just don't like his inconsistent fight. Yes. Yeah. Which is literally exactly what I just said. I totally 100% agree with you, which is why, like I said, I wasn't 100% sold on picking Tafa at first, exactly because of that. I know it's because of the division too. Oh yeah, yeah, true. Also true. When you don't have super skilled people at that weight class, it is kind of hard to keep that going. And I mean, we saw that with women's featherweight. I mean, what better example than that? There are women's featherweights that are around, like they exist. There's not enough to make a true top 15 and huge division out of it. It's the same kind of, well, not the same thing for heavyweight, but the skill definitely is not quite there yet, for sure. We're getting there though. I mean, with people like, I mean, I've talked about Jailton Almeida, people like that coming up. Whew, man, like I said, in 5-10 years, oh my God, are we going to see some insane fights? Actually, oh my God. I found on Instagram this one guy I follow. There's this guy, no joke, and it sounds completely made up and fake, but I actually looked it up. This is real. There's a guy named Hamzat Mayev, and he's got the same nickname. He just made his Brave debut, which is where Chimaev fought, and he's also undefeated. He fights exactly the same, and he almost looks exactly the same. I could not believe it when I was like, there's no way that this is real. But no, it's real. There is actually Hamzat Mayev out there. Could you imagine a planet, a reality? We live in a reality where we could see Hamzat Mayev and Hamzat Chimaev fighting in the same place at the same time, and it's not a glitch in the matrix or anything like that. This is a real thing that could eventually happen. I mean, unreal. And they're both insanely good. Could you imagine if that happened at some point? Mind-blowing. I would love that. A second Khamzat Chimaev. My God. They just keep pumping them out there. No idea where these guys come from. They're similar Dagestan fighters, and then they're clones like that. Exactly. It is unbelievable, and it's so weird too. Like, I mean, come on. The fact that like there's an Usman Nurmagomedov out there. Come on. Like the fact that his name is Usman when we already have Kamaru Usman. Like it's just so weird. These weird coincidences. It is very strange. But yeah, there are a lot of Dagestani fighters that look, sound, fight exactly the same. It is weird. It really does seem like they've got a factory out there somewhere and they're just pumping out these guys. Just all the OV guys, or OV or EV. And he's a champ, is he not? I believe, I don't know if he's the actual technical champ, because there's what they have the tournaments over there as well. So they actually technically kind of have almost two belts almost. So it's kind of a weird situation. He might be the true champ though. I honestly have not watched Bellator enough to see that. But that is, yeah, it's a weird one. Anyway, we keep getting off topic here. But I do like having the random combos. It does add to it for sure. I love it. I love it. Definitely not saying to stop, that's for sure. Where are we here? I got so distracted there, I forgot what we were at. Oh yeah, Tafa and Lane. Yep. Oh my God, this next one pains me. It pains me to say what I'm about to say. Amanda Ribas, Macy Barber. Obviously, we've talked about this before. I love Amanda Ribas, and I hate to say it, and we actually talked about this last time. Well, last time I talked about Macy Barber. I like Macy Barber probably only because I think she's somewhat attractive. That's kind of it. Every other part of it, I cannot stand it. Like the attitude kind of bugs me a little bit because she's kind of acting like she's destroying these girls and she's clearly winning when it's like, bruh, These 2 split decisions on your records, clearly you should not have won. And it is garbage. And you're walking around like you're the fucking, you know, the next title contender. It's like, good God, you're losing these fights and I don't even know what's happening with Macy Barber. It is unreal. It pisses me off so much, but I still can't hate her. Probably, like I said, because I think she's cute. But anyway, moving on. What pains me out of all of this, Amanda Hebos is a favorite. I honestly am not. I don't know if I can pick her. I truly do not know if I can. Because Barber is so much bigger. She's big and she's got that style that Amanda Hebos struggles with. You know, she's good at controlling people, like we said, along the fence, in the clinch. She's good at reversing people on the ground. She has okay striking. And Hebos, you know, her striking's good. And I didn't watch the tape on this yet. So again, maybe I will change my mind to Hebos, but I gotta say, Barber just keeps pulling out these wins. I don't know how she does it. I truly do not know. I have picked her to lose. No joke. I have picked her to lose the last 3 times, and I have been wrong all 3 times. So, I don't know. I don't know if I can pick against her for a 4th time in a row and lose a 4th time in a row. I just don't know if I can do it. I've got to pick Barber plus 160. Even though Amanda Hebos, I love you, Amanda Hebos. She's one of my favorites. But there's something about Barber in the UFC. I don't know what it is. She just cannot lose. She cannot lose like this. I don't know how. She is clearly getting beat in these fights and still somehow winning the decision. And you know what? Amanda Hebos was on the other side of that. She lost Chukagian when she very clearly should have won the decision. So now we're talking about people who are on the wrong side of, or on, you know, Hebos is usually on the wrong side of split decisions. Barber is usually on the right side of these wrong split decisions. So yeah, I mean, we're getting screwed either way on this one. Exactly. Yeah. Either you will be right or the universe will set itself straight. Pretty much. That is literally exactly what's happening here. So because it's that close and I truly can't tell, I got to go with the underdog, and that's Barber plus 160. I hate to say it. I have to do it though. And I will be going, I will say, for the under because Hebos has been finished by TKO. Barber is very big. She could get a lot of those clinch elbows, get one of those garbage stoppages. I wouldn't be surprised. And Hebos is so good on the ground. Maybe she submits Barber. I don't know. Plausible. So I'm going with the under. I think that's actually more reasonable than making either one of these picks because I don't trust either one of them right now. Oh man, that really is the toughest one of the night. So I'm not going anywhere near those with, you know, parlays and shit like that. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Then we got the main event. The main event. This one scares me, I will say. Of course, I'm going with Topuria because I haven't trusted Emmett for his last 3 or 4 fights, rightfully so, because I think he lost to Ige in that garbage decision. I don't think that was right. I think he lost that one. And then that kind of exposed him for me because it's like if you're having that much trouble with Ige, you really like I don't think you should be in the top 5 anymore. Like sorry. And Topuria is like, he's unreal. He is unbelievable. I wasn't convinced before Bryce Mitchell, but when he did that, when he made Bryce Mitchell look bad, I was like, oh shit. Like, Topuria is the real deal now. Like, he is absolutely the real deal. And I could very much see a world where he gets the next title shot for realsies. Because, yeah, he is insanely good. The one thing that worries me is he gets very aggressive and tends to walk into things. He does that a lot. And I'm not sure this is the guy you want to do that against. Because although I don't really think Emmett is all that great, you don't want to walk in on Emmett. That's how you get knocked out. So that worries me a little bit. But I do think Topuria should be able to handle that. I don't think he's going to make too many stupid mistakes like that. I do think he's obviously going to get hit, but I think his chin is pretty good to the point where I think he can get hit by Emmett like that and he should be okay. And then could very easily get a submission for sure. That I could see pretty easily as well. I just realized the top fights are made from 3 fighters I hate watching. What, do you hate Emmett too? I totally get it though. Yeah, Tafa, Barber, and do you hate Emmett or Topuria? I used to hate Topuria, but I gotta say he's kind of growing on me because I love the suits. I mean, come on, he's got to be. Just saying, straight up, he's got to be like top 5 most attractive male fighters. I mean, come on now, you got, eh, you know, you got to admit. The guy's sexy as fuck. What do you got to say? Yeah, you don't like Emmett? I don't really like Emmett either. I'm not gonna lie. It's weird that we have so many of the same preferences. I also have never liked Emmett. I don't know why. I think it's also, again, maybe kind of his face, but also it just bugs me when people win when they shouldn't win. And he kind of has that thing going where it's like, bro, you're losing these fights and somehow walking away with a win. I hate that. Hate that. So yeah, maybe that's why. I don't know. But either way, yeah. Topuria. We gotta go with Topuria finish. I mean, it's a 5-round main event and it's set at over under 2.5. How do you think I'm gonna lower these odds? You gotta go with Topuria finish. Obviously. That's the only way to lower that. And the over under gets interesting, like I said, at 2.5 one. The beard makes it, yeah. That's true. Yeah, he doesn't really look good with it, does he? I also thought that was kind of weird. That's so weird. How do we have so many of the same thoughts? That's very strange. I also thought it was weird when he started growing the beard. I thought he looked better without it. I don't know. Weird. Weird beard. Over under 2.5. I'm going with the over because listen to these odds: -240. -240 for under 2.5. Like that seems a little that seems a little one-sided to me, especially in a 5-round fight. I don't like that at all. So I got to go with the over because I mean, these things happen. You get that Topuria is not used to being in 5-round main. I think it actually is his first 5-round fight. Emmett used to being there, usually drags it out. They're both pretty tough guys. I mean, I'm not saying it's necessarily going to be close for Emmett. I think it's still going to be Topuria winning pretty easily, but it really could drag out. You could very easily see this going into the 3rd, 4th, 5th rounds because they're just going to not be as aggressive. I don't know if Topuria is capable of not being aggressive, so we'll find out. That's where this falls apart, of course. But yeah, I think that's definitely the way to go with it, especially in a 5-round fight. Over 2.5 plus 183. You gotta take it. The odds are in our favor there. And that is it. That is it for us. Oh, right, the parlays. So it's not quite it. It is not quite it for us yet. Of course, like I said, because I haven't quite been able to go through the entire card as in depth as I normally would be going, the letters are definitely going to be changing. So I don't think A, B, C, D, E, F is going to be quite exactly the same as it is now. But I'll tell you what I've got. It's probably going to end up fairly close. So we can kind of go with it. Use what you want to use. My A right now, anyway, is Brendan Allen because, like I said, I just don't really think that Silva is equipped to win this fight. It's as simple as that. I just don't really see it. Whereas at least a lot of these other guys have an outside chance of winning. I just don't really see that on Silva's side. I just don't really see it in that way. So, which is why I have to pick Brennan Allen, because I just can't really see him losing this one. So, which makes him, of course, because he has the A slot. That is my sniper pick right now so far, is Brennan Allen. B, I have Zhalga Zhumagulov, because he really should not lose this either. It heavily favors him. I mean, he's got a debuting guy. The styles match up well for him, but he's so unlucky that I could not put him in the A slot. There is absolutely no way I was going to put him as a sniper pick. There's no fucking way I was going to do that. So I had to put him next best. I had to put him at B. So that's where we stand right now. C, I've got Topuria, because again, I'm pretty convinced he should be able to win this. The only reason I put him that low is because Emmett is also kind of, he's kind of that guy that, like Barber, wins these fights that he probably shouldn't be winning. He's got, maybe he gets a crazy knockout out of nowhere that we just don't expect. You never know. It's 5 rounds. He could do it. If anybody's going to get a knockout out of nowhere, I could see Emmett doing it. So I've got him a little bit lower at C. D is Brown. The only reason I put him lower is because he's also had some questionable results. Turman is pretty bad. But when you've got people with questionable results like Zhalga Zhumagulov and Brown to a certain extent, I don't really trust them with those higher letters. So D is as high as I'm going to go with him. E, had to go with Magny. I think he's also very clearly going to win this, but I will say Philip Rowe does, even though he's bad, he has knockout power. So if for some reason Magny gets caught, gets smoked, knocked out, we don't lose all of our parlays because of that. So I've got him at E. Then F, which is the tail end of it. That's the last one. F is Brundage, because again, he's very much equipped to win this fight. He really should win this one. Fighting against, who was it again? Dumas, Cedriquez Dumas. Yeah, he should really win this one. So that's the F1. All 6 of them definitely have a very, very good chance of winning. And that's the order I go with, which means because I never change the way the distribution is, it's always, I'll quickly run through it: ABC, ADF, BCE, ABDF, ACDE, and then all of them. So that would be Allen, Zhumagulov, Topuria. That's my ABC. That is what we put 1 unit on. So 1 unit on Allen, Zhumagulov, Topuria, because that's my most confident parlay. You double up on that. So that's the 1 unit. Everything else, half a unit. And that would be Allen, Brown, Brundage. That's ADF. BCE, that's Zhumagulov, Topuria, Magny, still pretty solid. ABDF, Allen, Zhumagulov, Brown, Brundage. See, when you say them out loud, like when I just say letters, people might not really get like, oh, okay, you're doing letters. But when I actually say the parlays out, they do sound fairly good when you say them out loud as well. That's how I know that this does tend to work pretty well. Anyway, then my featured, oh yeah, I also named it. That's right. The ABC one I renamed to be the triple play. So when I do the article, it's called the triple play. That's what I call it. The Grand Slam is ACDE. So that would be Allen, Topuria, Brown, Magny. I actually feel pretty good about that one, not going to lie. So that's ACDE. That's the Grand Slam 4-leg parlay right there. Makes sense as a list. It'll be the type of card where I'm either going to be super frustrated because everyone I hate wins, or yeah, yeah, trust me, definitely been there. Definitely been there on Tapology. We'll see who wins in our, back and forth here. I'm up 1-0. We'll see who gets the win this week. Have you been joining any of the other events and all like that? let's see what I've joined, because some of the ones that don't give out credits are pretty fun. Like I go to, what's one here? UFC Ultimate 4, the June Joust. I'm in that. NorCal Fight Club. That's always a good one. And Card always puts on a card every week. I always join those ones too. I used to do ones that were non-UFC ones, so they would do like usually 10 or 15 different events throughout a couple weeks. There's a lot like that. There's also a bunch that they do 4 or 5 events a week. So they usually do 3 MMA, 2 boxing, somewhere around there. There are a lot of people that do events like that. I love those. My favorites are the ones with boxing, because boxing, holy shit. If you think, I mean, man, it is so easy to predict. It is unreal. Like, you could easily get like, if you look at people's pick percentage, by the way, you can tell who picks a lot of boxing, because their pick percentage through the roof. It is so hard to lose in boxing, because most people are like minus 1,000, minus 2,000, minus 1,500. You basically know who's going to win every single fight. So you end up winning basically those events by picking the right round that somebody's going to get a knockout, essentially. But I do like those games though. So it splits it up a little bit, a little bit of boxing, get a few MMA events in there. Usually they go a major MMA, so UFC, they get Bellator, maybe some PFL, and then they throw in something like, Cage Warriors, Ryzen, promotions like that. They usually throw in there too. I've only been making picks and going against you. Picked a couple of PFL fights, not knowing who anyone is, for fun. Yeah, you should. 50%. Ooh. That's rough. That's rough, buddy. But you did just start. You're a white belt. It's okay. I mean, people might not necessarily believe me when I say this, but when I started, when I was the white belt and even orange belt, I was getting regularly 80%. Like, it's only because I had a awful, awful stretch for about 6 months or so, where I was getting like, and this wasn't just in the UFC. This is what dropped my percentage down. I kept getting like 50%. And then I would have events where I'd get like 30%. And it was like, what the fuck is going on? And it was happening to me in, like I said, not just UFC, but everywhere else. Just tanked my percentage. I went from 80 to like 63. Now I've finally, because I've regained my confidence and my betting ability, I don't know what I did, but I got back to it. And now I'm at, I think it's actually, am I at 69 again? I was at 69, riding at 69% for a while there. I mean, I kind of want to get to 70, but I also kind of want to stay at 69. But yeah, which I think is actually one of the higher percentages, because you can actually see everybody's percentage. Most people are like, I think if you're at 60, if you're above 60, you're fine. You're fine. You're fine with me if you're above 60. If you're below 60, you need to practice, bro. You need to get in there, get some practice going. You'll get there though. It does balance out over the long run. And like I said, if you pick boxing events, your percentage is going to go way up, way up. That's why you can see people that have like 75%, something like that. It's like, bruh, that's quite a stretch. Do you watch every fight promotion? I know you watch the local Vancouver 169 Dice. I do not actually. I've truly only just recently started watching all of the PFL events. So that like literally just within the last couple weeks, I've been starting to watch PFL, all of the fights. I watched some Bellator here and there. UFC, obviously, every single fight. That includes Contender Series, Road to UFC, Tough. What's the other one? There was another one too, wasn't there? Contender Series, Road to UFC, Tough. Am I forgetting one? A UFC related one? Either way, I watch all the UFC ones for sure, every single fight. And then I do watch BFL, Battlefield Fight League. That's Vancouver. Unified MMA, that's Alberta usually. Those are the only two on Canadian ones on Fight Pass. And then I have watched the occasional thing like fight here and there outside of it, but not really, no. But to do my research though, yes, I have seen pretty much every promotion that's out there on Fight Pass. I have seen pretty much every single one. So that means, like UAE Warriors, LFA, I think Uriah Faber's one, A1, Cage Warrior, Cage Warriors, Cage Fury, everything, literally everything. I've seen fights in all of them for sure, but I do not watch them regularly. No, for sure. No, definitely not. The only ones, like I said, that I will continue to watch regularly, UFC, PFL. Bellator is hit and miss for me, to be honest, because there are so many that are like, I don't want to watch this. Like, they're not good fights. Whereas PFL, at least it's like, okay, you got the league format, there's points, it makes it more interesting. The fights are usually pretty good. So I'll watch the PFL. Plus, I love their stats. The way they do the stats, the way they show everything, it's just so much better. Truly, I actually wish that that the UFC would take everything from PFL. I really do. Because if the PFL had the fighters from the UFC, like they just swapped rosters, oh my God, would that be incredible? Because PFL really does their events pretty well. And they got some showmanship going too for the pay-per-view. Watch one or two PFL, but not consistently. I watch Bellator. For some reason, it's garbage, but it's free. Yeah. I mean, PFL is free too. Actually, you know what? Because you're in Canada, I know you can watch it too. If you have TSN, PFL's on there. It's just the main card though. You have to find a stream, if you know what I mean. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. You might have to go some places you're not supposed to go to find a stream, but you can watch the PFL prelims like that. But then main card is on TSN. So in Canada, we can watch it. Bellator was a nightmare to find. Holy shit. I don't know where you watch that. Where do you watch Bellator? I couldn't find it. I seriously could not find it anywhere. I had to find, one of those streams. While you type out your response to that, I really should be going because I'm sure my food's here. I'm getting hungry, so should probably head out. Bellator on YouTube. Oh yeah, right. But they don't do the main card on YouTube, do they? I think it depends on the card, actually, now that I'm thinking about it. Because, yeah, you're right. Yeah, they do have the prelims on YouTube. Interesting. Well, that's interesting that you chose Bellator. I mean, I guess that makes sense because it is the number 2. I actually do kind of consider PFL the number 2 promotion, to be honest. I really do. It's so much better. I actually think it's more fun to watch. I mean, I might get crucified to say that, but I actually find PFL more fun to watch than UFC. I actually find one championship. That's actually another one. One championship. I actually find more entertaining. It's just that the talent of UFC is far and away so much better. That's the only reason why it's like you got to watch the UFC because the people are just too good not to watch. But yeah, promotion, like actual entertainment value wise, though, one has got to be number 1. Not, pun aside, it really is number 1. And 2 has to be PFL, I would say. Yes, you may leave. Not here next week. Oof. Mainly chose it because I have watched it more often. Yeah. 1 is definitely what you want to watch because they even have one Friday nights. You would kind of know the results already if you looked it up. But they have really good fights. I watched the one card on Prime. So I will be watching those. I will watch all the ones on Prime, 100%, without a doubt. Because the showmanship of it, I've never seen anything like it. It's basically, well, I have seen something like it, and it's called WWE. They do the promotion part of it and the showmanship part of it insanely well. They've got the stage, they've got fireworks. Sometimes they have gimmicky, some people do some gimmicky things. Stamp, of course, has her Stamp dance. She does her cute dance. Love Stamp, of course. Other people have dances. Some people come out with outfits. The fireworks, like I said, the lights. They've got a guy, these two guys in suits carrying out the belt like it's the Stanley Cup. You understand the reference because you're Canadian. You know the Stanley Cup. Yeah, I mean the showmanship of one, not even close. That is golden tier right there. Then it's PFL, which is amazing because of, like I said, the stats I love. By the way, oh my God, before I go, actually, I do want to say one more thing that you should be doing. You got to go on Verdict MMA, especially if you watch PFL, because you can vote. You can put your scores in on the round. I'll even show you what it looks like here. This is the Verdict MMA. And then you go in here and it shows you similar information to what's on Tapology. But then you vote, as it says, see, round 1, round 2, round 3. So you put the scores in, and it's only for the main card. But for PFL, it's different because Verdict is partnered with them. So you actually see the Verdict MMA score on it is an app. It is an app. Yep. You can actually see the Verdict MMA score. So it'll say Randy Couture scores the fight this, Verdict MMA scores the fight this, the judges score it this. So then you can kind of see, and then the AI score. So they have 4 in PFL. They've got the AI that scores it. They've got Verdict, which is us scoring it. They've got the judges, and then they have Randy Couture or whoever else is usually doing the commentary, but it is usually Randy Couture. And yeah, amazing. And the best part of it is it's kind of like Tapology, but it's with points. So you don't, there's no points or stuff. Well, there are points in Tapology, but this is more like your betting points. So you get allotted, I think it's 600 points experience normally. And then you put those experience points and bet them on a certain fighter or a certain, outcome of the fight, basically. And then it calculates your points that way and then puts it in a leaderboard. And there you go. By the way, also, if you watch the MMA Hour, I don't know if you do or not, they have their own league. They have the biggest league. There's over 5,000 people in it, has all everybody's rankings, you can even see what each person did week by week. And it'll tell you like what place you're in that event. And then there's a season. So the season lasts, I think, 3 months. And then the season actually ends in July. So if you want to get into the next season, actually it's 6 months. You do every so often, depends on who's on. Yeah, there you go. So yeah, you know what I'm talking about then. Yeah. They host an MMA Verdict League. So yeah, you go, what was I going to say? Oh yeah, it's 6 months. So it started in January. That's the season. So January to July, it ends International Fight Week. With that pay-per-view, it ends, which means that the next season would start, of course, the week after that. You can join me in the season. By the way, because now that we're talking about it, I can finally show people for real. This is not bullshit at all. Like, this is my app. I'm not fucking around here. You go to the MMA. There it is right there, by the way. See? MMA Verdict League. I am in. Hold on here. I gotta get the leaderboard up. Season 1 here. Who is that in 8th place? That would be me, your boy. 8th place out of 5,000 and something. Pretty proud of that. Pretty solid. And then it also, of course, I can show you the other ones as well. The super, do you know MMA super fan? He's a Twitter guy. I'm also in his league. That's got 1,200 people, and I am currently in third place in the season. Nailing it. Killing it. But yeah, super fun though. Super fun. Oh, and actually, it even gives you, I'll show you what the profile looks like, the scores. I have no followers on this. I have 10 followers, I think 10 on Tapology. I was surprised when I saw that. No followers here. But then see, it says, it basically just has like a trophy case, it's called. So so like I was in the top 10%. Well, it says zero, but then, which is weird. Because then if you go to career, I was in the top 10% once. And then top 25% 5 times, top 45, top 66. So it does keep track of it like that too. And then you can see the next events. So it's like they have PFL on there as well as UFC, obviously. Because if they show the league, I mean the verdict MMA scores on PFL on TV. Obviously PFL is on there. Anyway, so that's enough of that. Now we're really over time. But hopefully you download it, because I didn't even find out about that app until like 2 months ago, to be honest. January, of course, not 2 months ago. I've been in the fucking season since January. No, I found out about it on watching the MMA Hour in the last one of December. And he was saying, oh, we're going to start up our league again in January. And I was like, holy shit, what is this? And I was like, wow, amazing. This app, that's great. Setting up high expectations for me, then I'll try my best. You just try your best. We can't all be top 10 on the app. I mean, we can't all be that great, but you'll get there eventually. And they have belts on that one too. I love the belts in Tapology. Oh, you should see some of the achievements I got on Tapology. Some of them are ridiculous, because after making so many picks, you can get some pretty good ones just by making picks long enough. Like I picked an entire card right. I picked an entire main card perfect, not just like picking the winner of each one in the main card. I picked the entire main card perfect. So that includes like getting it decision, knockout round 2, knockout round 1. I did that. I got a perfect undercard, I think, too. Yeah, you can get some crazy stuff by doing it long enough, for sure, especially if you do the smaller promotions. Anyway, enough of that. We'll call it a night now. Thanks for watching. If you want to see any of the other sports, Area 51 has got you covered. They do the hockey and the other stuff. I'm the MMA guy, obviously. Yeah, next week we'll talk about what happened this week, and we'll talk about, what is it, UFC Vegas 76? Is that what's after that? I don't even know at this point. I think that's where we're at. I honestly have no idea. Actually, let me see here. I think it's on it should tell me here. Strickland. Oh yeah, that's the Strickland one. It's next week. Strickland and Magomedov. Okay. So back to Vegas next week. Snoozer. Especially after this one. This one's going to be a banging card. Really looking forward to this one. Lots of finishes I see coming. Looking like some good fights. Oh my God, Thanos has got me. I'm starting to pixelate. Oh my God. Yeah. So we'll be back next week. You won't be, apparently, though. So maybe I'll see you before. I guess it's before the pay-per-view. I think that's what's after that, possibly. Maybe there's another one before that. I'm not really quite sure. I think there might be another one. Who knows at this point? They're all over the place. Oh, right. I need to get my thing set up. Thanks for watching, everybody. I will see you next time.